Jordan Marcotte. How we doing?
Doing good.
Good. We've been talking about doing this for a minute. Give me give me one word definition for success. What do you see? One word definition.
Well, it's gonna be a little bit challenging now because I listened to episode 1, and I don't know what I would have said before that, but truly, when I was watching it, I remember thinking peace
Mm,
in my mind. And when you
mm.
were talking about progress, though, I was like, man, there definitely is a healthy way to be able to navigate progress. But when I was listening to the episode, the first thing that came to mind for me in this season was peace. Yeah.
Peace. That's good, man. Yeah, episode 1, if you haven't listened, I talk about the one word definition for success, and it truly can be as simple as progress.
Yep.
If you're just like working towards something in life and not getting progress, not seeing progress, don't know what progress looks like, you just get frustrated.
Yep.
You just get frustrated. So I like that though, peace, because I definitely understand. Um, sometimes you can be in a place where you're not making a ton of progress, but you still have peace.
Yes.
And that is success in your internal state and your internal being. So let's talk about that. Your background, you've had a wild story. Your background in martial arts, performing at the highest level, and then having a hip injury, getting into ministry, doing that, going from 0 to 100, in terms of being a worship leader, from nothing to every day, all the time for over a decade, to then entrepreneurship, which is a through line, in your story. But
Right.
that, jumping out of ministry and into full entrepreneurship and that journey, I mean, that alone is daunting. If anybody is an entrepreneur or has been on that journey, you know that the code word for entrepreneurship or code words is personal growth. What that actually means is you're signing up for a lot of personal growth you weren't expecting. So tell me about a time when you've been stuck along that journey. You ever been stuck?
Yes, buddy. The first thing that I think about mostly is fast forwarding all the way through the martial arts, getting into ministry, and then immediately thinking about the first time I got told about my hip. That was huge, and
Huge in a
I
not good way.
huge in a not good way
Yeah.
because, be, I mean, bro, like everything about my life was so performance driven, and so
So tell
like
people what was it like? Like what were you doing?
yeah, I mean, I was a number one ranked martial artist fighting, but not just that, like all of the acrobatic stuff. We call it XMA, extreme martial arts, but then that led to gymnastics and being a national champion in cheerleading, like I put my body through it. And so everything from that to even just, running marathons, just being physically capable, I was very impressive. And so when I started noticing that I had hip limitations, I avoided it because I didn't want to accept that there was something that was going to infringe on me being impressive. Because being impressive represented, like if something could take that away, then it would take away my ability to be valued, worthy, loved. That was the deeper issue. So when I was 28, though, I went to my first hip surgeon. And at that point, I knew like I had waited too long. And he was like, "This is the worst that I've ever seen in someone your age." So I was like, "That's awesome." And so I walked away from that pretty defeated, but I was like, "Whatever, I'm just going to keep going." And mentally, it just kind of got to me. I didn't really have a lot of things connected to the future. I felt like, and so I was still trying to compare myself to the past. So then I waited a year. I went to another hip surgeon,
That's
and this
powerful, by the way. I didn't have a lot connected to the future, so I was still connecting to the past. That totally
yeah,
makes sense. I've been there. Okay. So
yep,
then you waited, and you mentally, I guess, like you're in a place then it's like, okay, I've been performance driven, dependent upon physical performance in particular. Uh, this issue shows up. Okay. Now I got to address it. I can't not address it anymore. Like, were you stuck then before you saw the surgeon, or were you like, this was just confirming what I
yeah. I think the stuckness. I got married, and then I had a different reason to show up. Thinking now about future a little bit. I mean, I never really had a reason to outside of that. And so I think I probably was stuck. But after I saw the second hip surgeon, this dude, I mean, he just was like, "You are incredibly unlucky and there's nothing really I can do for you." And I was like, "Dang, man, like just because you don't get the being honest, man, I was like, just because you don't get the dollar, you're not going to help me with anything, you know?" After that, I think I mentally checked out for sure and didn't know where to go or
So
even
motivation, like nothing.
not.
Goals for figuring this out or just recovering mentally,
Yeah.
physically. What happened
I
to your
stopped.
body?
It got worse. I mean, I checking out was like, dude, I didn't care about what I ate. I didn't try to train. I didn't training, like I wasn't just dealing with being out of shape, you know, like I had to literally deal with pain. And so I hated that I could not do the things that I could do. And instead of trying to focus on rehabbing and rebuilding it back to something that would be functional, again, I couldn't connect to anything other than, dude, I was the dude that could do this and do that and run there and blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, I mean, I completely checked out. I think over the course of 5 years, 6 years, I gained 100 pounds and
Which
just
doesn't
stuck
even
on.
seem but just with you? Dude, that's like, what? How's that even
You're telling me, man. But I gave up, and then we started having kids, and I remember just making these like internal. I mean, honestly, I feel like they were just like these internal vows. Like I'm gonna get it right for them, you know. And then now we're pushing a stroller, and guess what that represented? More pain, you know, more frustration. I had a daughter first. So now I'm trying to connect to the future. And all I can think about is I'm not going to be able to walk my daughter down the aisle if she gets married, you know? So now I'm thinking about the future and I'm feeling defeated before I even got to the next day. I mean, it just wild.
so
And then
stuck
had
looked
another daughter
like going backwards. Like stuck looked
back.
like
Yeah.
forget it, no hope. I'm going
No.
backwards. The spiral, I call it the downward spiral,
Yeah. Which
you
is
know,
hard for
and
me
it showed up
because
physically.
I'm a futuristic person. I'm a hope driven person. That's literally what I did for a career. I rallied people in rooms with music and, you know, fought to bring us all to the hope and the glory of God. You know what I mean? And literally is so hard to connect to any of that, which is, you know, yeah. I mean, I gave up all the competitive edge, the all of it, man. I felt more and more defeated before I even got started. And so
So no, so the motivation just out the door at that point. Even physically, your body hormonally, I mean, hormones are probably jacked up. You know,
oh yeah.
physically, you're probably jacked up. Sleep, having kids alone, forget
Yeah.
all the other things. So sleep is probably jacked up. I mean, you're struggling at that point. You got toxic thinking probably going on. You got,
Look,
you know, the idea of like, I have been this and now I'm here and I'm not that anymore. So what's the point? I mean, that's a real stuck thought.
yeah.
You know, I think we've all been there. So you got the idea of goals happening at all at this point. You're like, okay, I have a goal for my children, but that's not even working. You know, doing like this deep inner healing and all of that. That to me, where was that in the equation? It's like, oh man, I got this deep root level issue. You know, were you trying to attack it that way? Was there, how'd you do it?
Yeah. it's, I feel like every year I felt like I just kept pulling the shovel out and digging myself deeper and deeper. I was trying to go so hard on the external stuff, hoping that it would make real change, you know. So it'd be like I'd lose 20 pounds, gain it back, if not more. I would go to this gym, I'd commit with this person, you know, I'd have chats with you, I'd have, you know what I mean? I don't want to deal with it. But if we were to fast forward, I guess it was the entrepreneur journey was wild, leaving ministry after 16 years of just being in it. And I don't know I don't know if it was a combination of that. And I remember I ended up through this time, you know, picking up cameras and serving business owners and leaders doing content and stuff. And I got plugged in with this gym. And I'd love to say that I was like super, super committed, but I wasn't. But I knew that the barter that we had made caused me to have to show up to at least shoot content. And they weren't just a conventional gym, man. A couple of these dudes were just like their love for humanity, for people, for purpose, for betterment, for longevity, language that I can't say that some of it I'd never heard before, but I hadn't met people who were that committed to human beings. So I was, guess who was responsible to sit there capture their message, then go edit it, listen to it again. And this stuff started to kind of infiltrate um, my mind a little bit because I started like having to remember who in the world I was. And I would feel even God in this season, especially getting ready to meet my son, it just was different. And I remember specifically, it was a series of events. So I'm capturing these dudes, and then we find out we're pregnant with our third child, and then it's a son. And obviously, my journey of being fatherless, being abandoned, some of those roots being so far back. But then I remember a time when I lost the majority of my revenue in business. So here's my income, and I'm not knowing what I'm going to do. And I'll never forget sitting there and God telling me the greatest thing that you're going to be able to give your son is not you trying to be a better father, but it's you being a whole son. And I just remember like he broke me down back to a place where I couldn't rely on my performance because I started feeling it happening even with business. You know, it's like I went from quitting ministry to then doing six figures in less than 12 months. And I mean, it was cool, but it's like I could start to see all of this start to happen all over again, where it's like, all right, hoorah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make all this money. I'm going to do all this thing. And man, it just was an identity reset for sure. Like it was just a deeper thing that I had not, I would love to say, like, I know all this. I know how to speak this language. I know how to, especially in ministry, man. But I had to get back to this place of, bro, you just really have nothing to prove. And can we connect to the future? And not even just the future, but like today, like just what can you do today? So then that led to, I'm going to take 100 days and I'm going to make one tally mark on the wall of every day that I focused on eating a certain way. Well, I did that and then ended up losing 40 pounds. And I returned to some of the mindsets that I had even in martial arts. I think I felt guilty, bro, that there wasn't this just like resounding epic, I'm just committed to my family just because I'm committed, you know, and I'm just going to be fit and have all this money and all this stuff just cuz, versus like when I was younger, man, like everything was in increments. And so I was the 8-year-old that understood that it would take me 6 years to get a black belt, but everything had a stage and a process. And I was able to focus on the next thing 30 days from now, 60 days. So even as a competitor, I didn't become number one because I sat there and go, I'm going to be number one. It was because I focused literally on the time that I put in and focused on the next thing, the next tournament, the next match, the next kata that I had to do. And that led me to that. That was the result of that. And so I had to reframe and honestly just, dude, return to some of the stuff that God had put me through when I was younger, realizing that that was the gift that I had of even my martial arts career. And I've been doing more incremental things, knowing that, yes, I want to walk my daughters down the aisle. When I saw the third hip surgeon, he goes, I'm going to tell you the truth. Everything that they said before me is true. This is really bad. But I would wait 20 years before you get a full hip replacement. And it was the first time that I didn't feel defeated. And so I was like, how do you break down 20 years into micro decisions
That's powerful.
and be able to do that? And so I've given myself more micro things and I'm going slow. I'm not trying to do crash anything. I got nothing to prove. Yes, my family is motivating, but it's not my, it wasn't my children's job to wake up and be like, Dad, I really hope that hope that I motivate you today.
That's
Like
powerful.
it's not their job.
Yep.
So anyways, man,
Bro,
that's
bro,
all of that
there's
in
so
kind of a
much
quick
there's
thing.
so
So
much in there's so much in what you just said. There's the biggest one is like, yo, it's not and people say, oh, like I gotta get my children, my family's gotta be my motivation, source of purpose, or my this or that. No, they don't.
mm-mm.
The fact is, you gotta be able to do this. You gotta be able to do this for yourself,
Yes.
for others.
Yes.
It's not in the opposite order. It's like you gotta be there to even be there for others. You gotta do it
Yes.
for yourself. And so what I'm hearing is, I broke it down, smaller pieces, micro, simple, one tally a day, literally one tally a day kind of situation. I've found that to be helpful. My mile a day challenge. I
Right.
mean, there's a pattern here, right? It's like, yo,
You're on
when you
like day
get
what,
stuck,
700 something now at this
we're
point?
approaching 700.
Yeah.
And the other thing is actually back to the martial arts thing. I started jujitsu, and
Right.
the other day, which we can break down. You and I got so much I want to talk with you and ask you about. But the other day, the guys who are the guys who are teaching are amazing. One of the professors was saying he was showing how to escape side control. And so
Mm,
you're on the ground, right? And they're on top, side control. He said, now the whole point of side control is it's literally to wear you out.
mm,
Like you're gonna get worn out to the point where he can get you into submission. Just is what it is. So it's your upper body versus all of them. And your upper body is the weakest. You know, your legs are the strongest, your upper body is the weakest when you compare the two. So you're gonna have to use your upper body strength, but you got to understand that the whole point is for you to use all of your upper body strength so that you're done. And he said, so with that, the worst thing that you could do is start freaking out and trying to get your one elbow and your other elbow and your knee to your elbow all at the same time real
yep,
fast because you know that you're not in a good spot. I mean, tell me if this resonates, right? Somebody listening. You know you're not in a good spot and you start freaking out and you try and do all the moves all at once.
yep,
Doesn't work. Literally, that is the opposite of what you're supposed to do. He said, don't freak out. This is the most important part. Don't freak out. Take your time. Get your one position first. Get your elbow to pocket. Get your other position next. Get your other elbow. Make sure you cross their face and pull your knee in. And if it takes 1, 2, 3 bridges, whatever it is, so be it. Don't freak out because
yep.
you're going to use all the strength that you need to conserve. And I thought right in that moment, I thought to myself, I said, well, that sounds like being stuck in something I've
Yeah,
done.
yeah, yeah,
Oh no, this is a
yeah,
bad spot. I got to do a million things to try and make this happen and get out of it as fast as possible because it's uncomfortable.
yes,
It's very uncomfortable. But the truth is, you got to go one at a time. Okay, I got my towel. I got my one. I got it secured. Like we got this on lock. Okay, I'm working on my health one day at a time.
one day at a time.
One day at a time, literally one thing at a time. I got my health, one thing.
Yep,
Okay. I got my relationships, one thing. I'm doing one thing for my relationships today.
yep,
I'm working on one thing for my finances today. I'm speaking to entrepreneurs specifically, but even if you're in, people I'm working with, they're in sales roles and that's important. Like
right,
that weighs on you, if you're like, I got metrics, I want to hit them. Even if you're performing, you like that weighs on you, even if you are
yep,
performing. So you got to really be thinking about it one thing at a time. When you find yourself in that rut, it's like you cannot panic. You
right,
cannot freak out and you cannot use all the strength that you're needing to conserve, right?
yep,
Like it's got to be that one method, one moment at a time situation. I was reading something, just as a quick story. I was reading something online about a guy, he lost billions, well-known guy, lost billions, had a hedge fund, was going through a divorce, all kinds of stuff all at the same time. I mean, just
yeah.
terrible. Like you feel sick. And I actually even read like when you lose money, there's actual pain in your body. Like it's like there's a psychological thing happening and a biological thing
I
happening.
believe it.
Isn't that great? I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
yeah, I
believe
feel
it.
that.
Yeah,
And so billions, right? The magnitude of billions. So he lost billions. He's in the middle of a divorce and he's like, my life was just awful. And he said the one thing that got me through it is I thought I gotta make a 1% effort or 1% change today.
yeah,
Just like literally I focus on the micro. Exactly what you just said, Jordan. I'm
yeah,
like, yo, this is a pattern here. Okay. Everybody's gonna find themselves in a situation where they're stuck. I don't care how good you think you are.
yeah,
Because sometimes this stuff happens and has nothing to do with what you've done. It's everything to
right,
do with just life circumstances.
right,
Now you can either manage your circumstances or you can be the creator that you're made in the image of, and you can create opportunity out of it, right?
right,
To improve the situation. And for me, that's the big revelation is like, yo, I can either manage the 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 situation that I'm in that's making me feel a certain way and just say, oh well, this is the best I can do. Or I can say, no, you know what? The situation's hard, but here's what I'm going to do. And it's that 1% change every day. And he's like, I literally just did one thing for my health, one thing for my finances, because we were trying to rebuild from the ground up with this whole thing. One thing for my relationships. I'm like, man, this sounds familiar. Like
totally.
I've been there,
Yeah,
he just had a bigger magnitude of it. And so, and I think the other thing I wanted to ask you about, and Jordan, we could go for hours, right?
Yeah, I know.
We'll do part 2 in 10.
Sure.
But the other thing I wanna ask you about is, like, tell me, because a lot of people get stuck in the whole, like, and I frankly, I've done this too, so a lot of people get stuck in, like, the how would I phrase this? Maybe is it the ministry language, like, deep inner process. And
Yeah.
it kinda, you know what I mean? You get stuck in, like, it's all about the inner process. I gotta journal more. I gotta do this more. And for you and for me, and even for other people I've read about and talked with and clients I've worked with,
Yeah.
when you get it, whether it's a career stuck or another kind of stuck, movement is really important. Movement is, for me, so, so, so valuable. I mean, move your body, move your mind, what you focus on, move your language, change how you're talking about yourself and
That's good.
others.
Right.
So when you're thinking about it though, like, tell me how you kind of thought through, worked through, and what was actually helpful
Mhm.
when it came to the inner process, the deep roots, and, like, did that work for you, digging up the deep roots, or was it kind of happening in the process of you doing?
Yeah, this was the first time that I didn't try so hard to dig them up. I felt like I had been there before. And one of the biggest things too was actually that moment when there just was a day where I was stuck in this wonder. And it's funny, I've been doing some of these assessments. It's been objectively very helpful. Working Genius and Clifton Strengths and all this stuff's been so good. And focusing not just on my genius zones, but like my working frustrations. And one of them is wonder. And I
I
realized,
don't know anything about that. Tell me about
yeah,
that.
yeah. So this the ambiguity that can come from, like, I am futuristic, but in the midst of wanting to invent and galvanize the things that, like, I'm really, really good at, why I just am obsessed with seeing and creating belief in other people. It's what, showed itself in my worship leading and in the desire to serve people. In ministry, it's like we want to walk with God. And I was in circles that I think kind of hyper spiritualized and overworked this emotional, like, if I feel insecure, I'm just going to sit here and kind of just wait on God. And we do not have time today to break all of this stuff, break all this stuff down. But it ends up just becoming, let's just talk it in terms of like business or entrepreneurship. It's that whole preparation cycle that turns into procrastination, where at
Okay,
some
gotcha.
point now we're not. So I think it's the exact same thing in waiting on the Lord,
Yeah.
where we do this thing where that keeps us safe, but there's a different layer, because if I told you I kept preparing, you'd be able to challenge me. But if I told you that I'm waiting on God, or that this is what I feel like God is saying, it's harder for
Oof.
you to break that threshold.
Tough, tough. That's your relationship
And
with God. How can I step into that?
exactly. And so it can become, we talk about often how that can be manipulative when it's directed toward other people, but we don't talk about how that can be incredibly destructive when it's how we're using it to protect ourselves and keeping us stuck in moments where I actually don't think God is asking us to do any of that at all. And there was a
So
moment where I woke up.
practical, real practical. The like that meaning, like, yo, I'm in a situation where I'm stuck. I got to get out of it. My hip situation, my body, my mind, all these things. Me waiting on God right now is not the answer.
Well, let me tell, I'm gonna give you an even super practical one around the money thing. So when I left ministry, and I know all the things I'm good at, and I know this and I know that, but I have this camera and I start, I do a little bit of things. I'm starting to make a little bit of money and I'm seeing some stuff and I'm trying to figure it out. It's like, I remember I just woke up one day and it's like, bro, you hate that you're dealing with what's my calling, and sometimes I think when people ask like what's my purpose, they're really asking like if I have purpose. And that's where I was at, and I'm 35, I'm feeling embarrassed about this. But I woke up and I heard the sound of my children. I just remember, I don't give a crap what you think about your purpose or your calling or your passion or what you want to do. To provide for your family is not something you need to pray about, wait on the Lord about. So get up and go find it. And that was where a big part of this dynamic changed in the performative side, because though that was the drive, instead of focusing so much on me being like the provider, I felt like I was able to enter in with the Lord in this place of being the finder, knowing that he was the provider and that my work was to get up and be diligent, to go and seek, find, ask, knock, pursue, be with him, but take action. Like, bro, we're husbands and fathers. Are you kidding me? Like, whenever is there the question, like, what am I called to do when it comes to needing to show up and provide for the fam? You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like, be worse than an unbeliever. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so for me, I know that that sounds really, really like, well, duh. But coming from the world that I came from, even stuff like that would be thrown out into this world of wonder instead of just taking action. And so, like, that was even the same with the tally mark. One tally, bro, I had 100 tallies on the wall. But the thing about making one of those tallies was there could have been thousands more in between those because
Mhm.
in one day, one tally represented one. You know how many decisions I had to make that day?
Mhm.
But one thing that really changed for me was I was listening to a consultant business dude, and he's not the only person that ever said this, but I just loved thinking about what it meant to decide based on the Latin root, which is just to cut off.
Tell me that again. Run it by me again.
Yeah, to decide means to cut off.
Okay.
Yeah, it means to cut off every other option. And so when I was listening to him talk about this, I go, that's what I have to do. And so with the diet, I just said, I woke up one day and I've been telling myself there's this motto, there's this mantra this last year that I've been telling myself Monday isn't promised. And so I just was like, I can't even think about dinner. I'm just going to think about breakfast right now. That's it. So I'm going to make this decision. I just cut off every other option.
Yes.
That's what I did.
Yes.
And so then lunch came and but then I went to an event and guess what was there? Stuff I couldn't have. So I cut off every other option. I decided. And then I just left no room and no provision for compromise. And so I did that day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. And that's why it's so funny because I look at that wall still and I just go every single one of those tallies I represented thousands of probably micro decisions. But the thing is that I just began to change. I didn't need to pray about honoring my temple. I didn't need to pray about, do you know what I mean, bro? I didn't need to fast and pray and seek like wisdom and consultation about if I should wake up and today choose to steward what God had given me. I'm about to get all riled up now, but I just decided and that has stuck with me in a tremendous way where it's just like, what would happen if you cut off every other option? And that has stuck with me. And so I keep telling myself, I just joined a new gym 3 weeks ago and showing up to this community and just like leaving Monday's not promised.
How's it hit?
Awful. Yeah, I mean, it hurts. It's not like, you know what I mean? And even training last week, man, doing this lower body thing and I was genuinely, bro, I was proud of myself because you know, it's like there were about 4 workouts that I just couldn't do within this block. And I looked at the coach and I said, can you just give me a modification? I'm just going to keep moving. Just give me a modification. I'm just going to keep moving. And, and I think that sometimes, bro, like we're all going through something, you know what I mean? It's just like those little wins are really, really, they can just, I don't know, it's just way more triumphant than what I think people give themselves credit for. And they just don't even give themselves the opportunity to have the small win because they're so, like someone like me, like I just was so at this level. But it's like for me to show up and just stay moving in that 15-minute block and doing modifications. My ego is just so removed from it, man, you know? And so this year I'm doing a karate tournament for the first time in 16 years. And so giving myself those things again to look forward to, not just 20 years down the road, but decisions I'm making 3 months down the road that will impact that 20-year goal, but allowing myself to live there. So yeah,
How do you
yes,
find
sir.
contentment just making those one day decisions, that one meal decision? When you're trying to think so big and so far ahead and you're thinking 20 years and you're thinking this and you're thinking that. And it's like, a lot of people find it difficult. I used to find real, true contentment. Like,
Yeah.
I was never big on the, hey, let's rah rah celebrate the small wins. And that's not really me. I'm not really
Yeah.
that guy. I'm like, yo, nobody's over here in the corner giving me a round of applause for running my mile today. It's
Yeah.
like, my reward, like, look in the mirror. Like, my reward, I get to be more physically and mentally present for my children and my wife and myself.
Yeah.
I have more confidence. Like, that's my reward. But like, I found it incredibly difficult starting to
Yeah.
really find, like, contentment. "Hey, this is what I did today." How'd you find that?
I think Philippians 4:13 is one of the most popular scriptures in the entire world, and it gets taken out of context all the time. And it's not just like I can go run this marathon because I can do all things. It's like whether I'm abased or I abound, I found the secret to contentment. And I had to break up with this infatuation over my future and this obsession and this chronic disappointment with my past and comparison. And I stopped judging myself. I teach all the time. People say like the thief of, you know, comparison's the thief of joy. And then I'm like, I get what I'm always like, I get what you're saying, but I'm like, comparison itself isn't, it's the judgment that you put upon yourself as a result of being different or not where you were, or, you know what I mean? Like I was so mean to myself.
That's real.
I just was so mean to myself. And I just was like, I could be so stuck on the future that just like, what if I didn't wake up tomorrow? Like it's not some like weird, I don't know what they call that. What is it? A nihilism or something? Some weird, like I'm not motivated by I could die tomorrow. I'm just saying like I have a really beautiful present. Like it's stunning, bro. I've got a beautiful wife. I've got 3 healthy, lovely children. And if I could do something today, like I think I just made peace with like life is really, really good today. And
Mm,
I have an assignment and an opportunity to steward today. I mean, like, like you running your mile for 700 days, dude. It's like, it would have been horrible if you started and you're like, all right, dude, I hope I do this for 1,000 days. You know what I mean? And you're so caught up in the 1,000. And let's say you didn't make it to that. You know what I mean? Like it takes away the beauty of making that decision today.
mm,
You don't even get to 700 without today.
mhm.
And I know that stuff is like basic Tony Robbins, you know what I mean? Like, let's talk like mindset, I know you're all mind. It is true, dude. Like, I lived chronically disappointed about comparing myself and judging myself because I wasn't who I was.
Mm,
But then when I felt like I could grab anything about the future, I became so infatuated with a future version of me that I'll love myself then. I'll be more proud of myself then. And that's a lie.
mm.
Like, if you can't be present today, you know what I mean? Dude, I'm still overweight, but I'm 45 pounds lighter than I was. And so I could still sit here and judge myself, or I can be happy that the decision 3 months ago was today. And
Yes,
you know what I mean? Like that's the truth. And so, bro,
yes.
like I became present and I stopped trying to perform for my identity and uphold everything you know what I mean? And just present, bro. Like that's it. And I'd love for it to be more complex than that, but everything else was so complex that it's like, bro, like today.
Now, people want complex because then it makes them feel better about why something's not working,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
you know?
No, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's as simple as it's simple, it's not easy.
It's not
What's
easy.
one change to your language? Okay, so you were like, "Alright, I need to change my perspective to focus on the present. I need to move my body, move my focus to be more present." What's one change or movement to your language? Because that's a real big deal. Like, did you notice any change to your language? If there was, what
Yeah.
was one?
Yeah, yeah. The present version of me, I felt like I said this earlier, but a big thing was just simply that you have nothing to prove today.
Mm,
And here's why: because the past version of me would have I was mean. I was just mean to myself, and I said things in my mind and probably out loud that super ashamed of. I hated that I would go there.
one example.
One example would be,
Something you said in your mind, you just did it all the
yeah,
time,
you're
but you never said it
dude.
out
I mean,
loud.
just like you suck.
Really?
You're
You'd say
horrible.
that in your
Yeah,
mind?
yeah, bro. Like, dude, you're a piece.
Mm,
Like you're not capable. You're not anymore.
mm,
So then when I'd look at the future, it'd be like, dude, one day, like this is gonna be good one day. You know what I mean? Like, bro, you're gonna be real proud of yourself then. You
mm.
know what I mean? It'd be like stuff like that, trying to have access that motivator, just this false belief. And today it's just like it's even things like bro, you have such a good life. Like, bro, like, like my kids waking up 4 a.m. and it's just like, bro, they're crying because they want you, not because they're in pain.
Mm,
I'm so connected to like the present that I feel like it just that's how my language movement. I love how you say it like that. Like that's how that's changed. And so it's not just motivation, it's reality.
mm.
It's what's true. And I think I've been able to connect to that in a different way, where it's just like driving home from the gym, you know what I mean? It's just like, bro, like you should be proud of yourself. Like you didn't cop out in that moment. You know what I mean? Like hey, you asked for help. Like it's stuff, it's affirmation that I'm also like giving myself. That's more than just, you know what I mean? Like, dude, you stayed
It's
moving
genuine.
for the whole 15.
Yeah, it's genuine. It's
Language
real.
so different, dude. It's not like, man, I'm so man, like, like, it's just so easy to get there. And I feel like people should talk about this stuff more because the mind can be such a defeating and scary place that no one ever wants to let anyone into. And I'm like, why can't we talk about positive speech and movement if we're sitting here talking negative all the time? And
Mm,
what good is that? Like, so anyways, man, yeah, that's been stuff that's been real, man, is just acknowledging what is also just true. And the gift that God has given me today is some people cannot move, teach. And I at least still have movement in my left leg and I'm going to use it.
yeah. Amen,
Yeah.
bro. Any change to your word in terms of a definition for success in one word?
Probably contentment. I genuinely hope that if I ever become a millionaire, if I ever lose it all, if God heals my hip, if I work really hard to do the best I can, if I get a hip replacement, that secret, I think, is something that can carry all of us, regardless if we're in ministry, if we're in entrepreneurship, if we've got family, if we don't, whatever. I mean, I'd love to be around people who would genuinely say, I'm content. Because I think
Mm,
that that's how we can be really present with today. Doesn't mean that we're not driven, doesn't mean that we're not actively healing, but I think that we can be content today.
yeah, that's good,
Yeah.
bro.
But I
Man,
do
I
like
appreciate
progress. I do like because that's how I feel. I go
Yeah,
one tally,
that's right.
progress. Really proud
That's
of that.
right. Yeah, man, we'll have many more conversations on this, but, I think also you're doing content creation for business owners, entrepreneurs. People can find you online, Jordan Marcotte,
Yeah.
Instagram. Yeah, anything you wanna say about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I've really been enjoying we do content creation. We're here in my studio right now, but really deeply enjoy working with people in their narrative, their story, and giving them belief that they're the only them that this world will ever get. And so we've been focusing a lot more on really showing people, not in some cheesy way, but how they really can stand out in any market that they're in. And it's not just because they look fancy or have the right words, but that they're telling real stories. And so we've been working with leaders and specifically founders here at Verdant Studio, helping bring that stuff to life for people who might actually feel insecure. So they're maybe people like me who, in their own way, have survived by way of performance and being impressive, hiding behind their business success, but know it's time to show up. And that's been one way that we've been helping folks. So,
Yeah, consulting them, helping
yeah.
them, the practicals. It's
And then
good.
the camera gets used to help carry that message, but we do the deeper work first and then jump in. So,
It's good,
yes,
man. Well, I appreciate you. Love you, bro.
love
And
you too.
I know people got a ton out of this message and conversation, and we'll have many more.
I'm glad that we could capture something we've been doing, just standing randomly in random spots for 8 years talking. Like cutting it down to 50 minutes is crazy. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll
Anyways, love you.
we'll make it we'll make it happen again.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
All right.
Michael.